down into the state. So otherwise, not too bad. Just a few sprinkles this morning. The temperature's above normal once again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Pam. And thank you for joining us this Friday morning, the 13th day of February.
We'll be back with more news and weather at 7:25. Join us then.
This is 5 TV.
Oh, good morning, everyone. I'm Joan Lunden, and
I'm Spencer Christian, filling in for David Hartman, and this is February the 13th, Friday the 13th. Not only that, there's a full moon tonight, so there's no way my luck is going to hold out today.
The last time that happened, I think, was 1983 or 84.
Really?
Yeah.
You've been keeping track.
You got the exacta today. All right, coming up in this half hour, one of television's most controversial miniseries has not even aired yet. The upcoming ABC drama America will offer a frightening, fictional look at the America's future of an America ruled by the Soviets. An advance word of the series has brought condemnation from several quarters, including the United Nations, because of its subject matter and also of its portrayals. In a few minutes, we will examine the America controversy with people who have some very strong views on the issues it raises, and we'll give you an opportunity to voice your opinion.
Okay, and later in the hour, the other Spencer for hire, Robert Urich, will join us from Boston. Linda Ellerby will have her TGIF report, and then, in the spirit of adventure, we'll take you to new heights on an exciting expedition up the slopes of Mount Everest.
Right now, though, it is 1 minute past 7, and Jed Duvall has the news for us. Jed, good morning.
Good morning, Joan. Good morning, Spencer.
Morning, Jed.
New information is coming to light about the Iran-Contra affair. The Washington Post reports that the Tower Commission is looking into whether there was a White House attempt to cover up details of that affair, particularly to minimize President Reagan's role. ABC News has uncovered information concerning fired aide Oliver North, conservative fundraiser Carl Channel, and efforts to raise funds for Nicaraguan Contras. Karen Burns reports.
Carl Channel has raised millions of dollars for conservative causes, using his access to the White House and the National Security Council. But ABC News has learned that former National Security Council member Oliver North may have been using Channel as well to raise money for weapons for the Contras, an action prohibited by law. The project was called the Toys Project, and Oliver North was codenamed Green. Jane McLaughlin was a fundraiser for Channel.
We'd send them a mailgram inviting them to this military briefing with a high-level national security official. And it would be on Central America, and that a very special project would be discussed.
That national security official was Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. North frequently spoke to small groups of Channel's most ardent supporters. He showed them maps and slides and discussed the Contras' needs.
My understanding of the Toys Project was that we were working directly on behalf of the President and his policy in Central America via Colonel Oliver North.
Channel's relationship with the President and his access to the White House was something he told his fundraisers to use.
I would make a fundraising call, and this is what I was told to do.
I called because I wanted to invite you to a meeting with the President at the White House that's going to be held the end of the month.
About 25 people came to the White House for that meeting. They met with President Reagan, Chief of Staff Donald Regan, and Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. To help the Contra cause, each guest was asked in advance by Channel to contribute a minimum of $30,000. ABC News has learned that the FBI is reviewing some of the organization's financial records, and our review shows that between March and May of 1986, the records reflect a dramatic increase in funds, most of which was deposited in the account allegedly used for military aid, the account called Toys. Both Colonel North and Carl Channel have declined to comment, and while President Reagan was present at some of their functions, there is no evidence that he knew of any illegal activity. Karen Burns, ABC News, New York.
And ABC's Bob Zelnick has learned that the Tower Commission has evidence that Oliver North's private Contra fundraising network raised some $15 million in 1985. Most of the money reportedly was used to purchase light weapons for the Contras, not used for humanitarian aid. In other news, the Klan has taken a beating in a big court case in Mobile, Alabama. An all-white jury awarded the family of a black teenager $7 million in damages for the murder of Michael McDonald. The family may get title to the national headquarters of the United Klans of America. In southern Lebanon, trucks filled with food and supplies for a besieged Palestinian refugee camp may now have a better chance of reaching those in need. Shiite Amal militia forces have said they would not allow relief supplies in until they retook key positions from Palestinians. And this morning, they reportedly took those positions. Rescue at sea. A German freighter has picked up 22 of 28 crew members from a Turkish merchant vessel sinking fast 700 miles east of New York. 4 crew members remain on board. 2 are missing after their lifeboat capsized. And more arrests have been made in Wall Street's insider trading scandal. Stephen Ogg has details in this morning's economic report.
Good morning. 3 more high-ranking Wall Street executives have been charged with criminal violations involving insider stock trading. They include the head of the arbitrage department at Goldman Sachs and 1 current and 1 former vice president at Kidder Peabody. The government says they gave each other information about upcoming deals and then used it to make millions of dollars in profits for Kidder, though one trader made some money for himself as well. On Wall Street, traders said the news sent prices down. The Dow opens today against a 6-point drop yesterday. Meanwhile, a government industry task force wants American semiconductor firms to be allowed to join together to develop and produce the next generations of semiconductors. This to fight the huge, well-financed Japanese combines. The American firms would finance the effort with $250 million of their own money, plus $200 million a year from the Pentagon.
We believe that if we don't do this or something akin to this, that the U.S. semiconductor industry will die, and that the merchant semiconductor industry will die, and we think it will probably die in the not too great distance.
Finally, a new survey says, for the most part, Americans are coping well with the telephone system in the wake of the big Bell system breakup 3 years ago. But people are still confused about all the choices they're getting. More than half say it's difficult to understand all the different local service options and the prices and options for long-distance service. Oh, in case you wondered, the survey says the average consumer makes 140 telephone calls a month. So much for the telephone poll. The economy this morning.
A look ahead now at some of the events on the news calendar for today. Federal officials hold a news conference on a new Medicare health insurance plan for catastrophic illness. The plan displayed yesterday would increase monthly premiums by about $5 and limit annual out-of-pocket expenses to $2,000. President Reagan meets with the Super Bowl champion New York Giants at the White House today. Tonight in Quebec, the National Hockey League All-Stars again take on the Soviet national team. They beat them 4-3 Wednesday. This evening on World News Tonight, a profile of our person of the week. And tomorrow on The Health Show with Kathleen Sullivan, a report on how you might be hurt by other people's smoke. Check local listings for the time in your area. Finally, we here at ABC News have lost a valued colleague. Following a long illness, science editor Jules Bergman has died at his home in New York. He was 57. Jules began his career at ABC as a news writer in 1953 and became science editor in 1961. Bergman pioneered television science reporting and covered the space program from its earliest days.
We'll see both the Earth and the Moon as no men have ever seen them before. We're approaching the 20th anniversary of both the first U.S. and Soviet manned space flights.
Jules Bergman won an Emmy for his documentary Fire in 1975. He also published many magazine articles and books on scientific subjects. His contributions were unique and valuable. Many of us at ABC worked with Jules for more than a generation, and he will be missed. That's the news at 7. Coming up at 7:30, busy air traffic, fewer controllers at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Those things prompt safety concerns. Joan and Spencer?
Thank you, Jed. Right now it's 8 minutes after, and Spencer now has the weather for us.
That's right, but that other chair seemed to fit better.
A little more comfortable.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go do the weather. It's getting a little messy as we head into the weekend. Wouldn't you know, we'd have a string of nice days during the week, and as we approach the weekend, all of a sudden it gets messy. The jet stream is getting a little stormier now. We've got a mixture of wet and white weather out in the west, a stormy flow right through the central part of the country, still very cold and winter-like up in the northeast, although it is mild down in the southern states. Here's the outlook. Storm developing here in the central part of the country, in the central plains, pushing eastward towards the Mississippi Valley, easy for me to say. There will be thunderstorms and heavy rainfall in this area. Some ice and some light snow across the Great Lakes, still very cold there, that's the big factor. And out west, a huge area of precipitation as moisture continues to flow off the Pacific. Heavy rain, strong winds along coastal areas, heavy snowfall inland over the high sea areas, possibly 2 to 3 feet of accumulation in the Lake Tahoe area. That's a quick look at the national weather picture for this Friday. Here's what's happening in your hometown area.
Good morning, everyone. This is Pam Dale from the 5 TV Forecast Center. We can expect some sprinkles this morning, otherwise it will become partly sunny this afternoon with a high of 47 degrees and southeast winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour.
It's almost 10 minutes past the hour now. The controversy over the America miniseries has been growing over the past few months. Here with some background is our correspondent in Hollywood, Chantal.
When the project was announced in 1984, it was titled Topeka, Kansas, USSR, and then was a mere 3-hour TV movie. It has since grown to a 7-day, 14-and-a-half-hour maxi series with an estimated cost of $35 million. The story, set in the 1990s in Kansas, depicts life in the United States 10 years after a Soviet occupation. It's a premise that draws harsh criticism from both ends of the political spectrum. The left claims it's Russian propaganda and caters to the Red Scare paranoia. The right argues it makes the Russians look like good guys.
I am not free to do anything I want the way I want.
And there's more. In Moscow early last year, the Soviet Union indicated their concern over the production of the miniseries. However, ABC News says so far there's been no impact on their news coverage in the Soviet Union. After reading the script, the United Nations called the portrayal of the UN peacekeeping forces in America distorted and outrageous. The troops, renamed the United Nations Special Services Unit, appear as pawns of the Soviet Union. Last October, the UN asked ABC to have their name, emblem, and color removed from the program. In reaction to all this criticism, Brandon Stoddard, president of ABC Entertainment, has said, "Our network has not and will not make concessions on this miniseries." He also goes on to say, "This is not about a Soviet takeover. It's about how ordinary Americans would react under extraordinary circumstances." That position is supported by Donald Rye, the writer and director of America.
The Soviet Union is an abstraction and not really relevant in terms of direct conflict. It has nothing to do with the conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. It has to do with two systems.
Sure, and Jack the Ripper didn't mean to hurt those women. I know just how it works. Of course, that's absurd. ABC has every right to air this miniseries. The actors have every right to appear in it. But let's be honest. Of course, it's a rap of the Soviets. How can it not be a rap of the Soviets? These people are coming over here, occupying our country, treating us like slaves. That's a puff piece? Come on.
At this point, no one has seen the completed 14-hour series. It's still being edited. So the question of its artistic merit has yet to be decided. But there is obviously one other question that has to be answered after all the promotion, complaints, and hype have died away. It's this. Is the sole purpose of network primetime television to entertain, or can a program engage the mind and make us think and ask questions of each other and ourselves? The answer to that was provided 10 years ago this season when a landmark miniseries played before one of television's largest audiences. That series was Roots. Will America, the miniseries, have the same effect on America, the nation, next week? Starting this Sunday night, TV viewers all across the country will provide that answer, as they should.
It's 7:13 now. America is being attacked from all points along the political spectrum, and we'll have more on the controversy after this.
Thousands of Walmart associates working together because low prices are important to you.
We seek out the manufacturers who can deliver the quality we demand. Then our large volume buying enables you to save on the things you want.
We control every step. We deliver to stores at least 5 times each week.
That means fresher merchandise and lower prices every day.
We stock what you want to buy, and because it moves fast, we can sell it at a lower price.
Here's what it all comes down to. You save on everything in the cart, not just 1 or 2 items.
You will save on everything you buy at Walmart.
We're a team. Everybody in this store does his part to keep costs down, and that means lower prices for you.
Walmart. We're thousands of individuals working together to keep prices lower on the things you want. Our philosophy is very simple.
What's important is you.
That's the Walmart way.
When a professional like Bob Brown offers a rebate, he does it in grand style. Now for a limited time, when you buy a 4-cylinder Celebrity from Bob Brown, you get $1,000. Buy any Cavalier, get $1,000. Or buy any Camaro and get $1,000. Plus, Bob Brown Chevrolet Isuzu offers $500,000 when you buy a Nova. Come in and take advantage of great selection and savings, plus $1,000 rebate at Bob Brown Chevrolet Isuzu.
The thrills continue on the next Lifestyles. Join Robert Wagner on a Big Apple night on the town with True Love, Joel St. John. Then, a galaxy of superstars on the second part of our dramatic series of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Plus, Brooke Shields, Lorenzo Lamas, and Dr. Ruth Westheimer take a special look at Canada's multi-billion-dollar preparations for the '88 Olympics. All on the next
Styles of the Rich and Famous, Saturday nights at 11:30 on 5 TV.
It is now 1:15. The miniseries America has drawn critical fire from all ends of the political spectrum. The United Nations has been especially vocal in its concerns about the manner in which UN peacekeeping forces are depicted in the series. Merrick Goulding, Undersecretary General for Special Political Affairs, who oversees the UN peacekeeping forces, explained the UN's objections to us yesterday.
What is so wrong about this is that United Nations peacekeepers are never used by one power to impose its will on another. We're not the mercenaries of oppressive or aggressive powers. It's a characteristic, an essential characteristic of United Nations peacekeeping, that it only takes place with the consent of the parties to the conflict. Two states are at war, peace is arranged, temporary peace maybe, there's a truce, an armistice. You then need some kind of outside party to monitor that truce, to report on violations of the truce and so on. And that's what we do. We go into these situations with the consent, sometimes at the request, of the conflicting parties. And that consensual kind of activity is 180 degrees different from the portrayal of UN peacekeepers in America.
Media watchdog groups have also expressed serious reservations about America. Joining us this morning with their views on the series are Reed Irvine, the chairman of Accuracy in Media, Jonathan Halperin, the program director of the Committee for National Security. Also with us is Floyd Abrams, a constitutional attorney with experience in First Amendment and broadcast law, and we welcome all of you gentlemen this morning. Mr. Irvine, how much of the series have you been able to see?
I've seen 2 hours, and I've read a script, a 570-page script.
On the basis of seeing that and reading the whole script, you have said that the producers of America took a very well-conceived project and turned it into a very unrealistic picture of what life would be like in America under Soviet occupation. In your opinion, what is wrong with the viewpoint taken?
There are 2 things wrong with this film. The first one is that they have no scenario for how this could come about. We suddenly wake up one morning and find that we're being run by a couple of Russian KGB officers, and that's ridiculous, and it's going to detract from the credibility of the program. But there is a very realistic script of how this could come about, and we're seeing it in operation. The formula is one of Soviet external encirclement, internal demoralization, and finally, nuclear blackmail. So they could show all of these things, especially the nuclear blackmail portion. If we let down our nuclear guard and disarm, as some of the peace groups would like to see us do, all the Soviets have to do is say, look, checkmate. Do as we demand or we'll wipe you out, and we have no defense.
So you're almost saying that it's too soft.
It's too soft, and the occupation, again, is too soft. The producer, who thought the whole idea was absurd anyway, Mr. Rai, has said that he made efforts to make the Soviets, the Russians, look very humane, and indeed they do. I was talking to a refugee from Czechoslovakia, a journalist, as a matter of fact. He said, if the Russians had behaved this way, I would have never left home.
Yes, you pointed out situations in Afghanistan, etc., that says that this goes way too soft.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I'm not saying that people shouldn't watch it, because I think to many young people who are not aware of the realities of how horrible it is, it will still seem, I think, harsh and unpleasant, and maybe start some thinking.
All right, Mr. Halperin, how much have you been able to see and read?
I've seen and read the same amount that Mr.
You saw the first 2 hours, you got to read the whole script, though. All right, on the basis of what you have seen and read, you have said this program is an insult, adding that there is no real attempt to understand what the Soviet Union is all about. You want to explain further what your organization's objections are?
Sure. We are, first of all, I should make really clear that the Committee for National Security is completely opposed to any form of censorship at all. We've not asked that this be withdrawn or anything like that. We're trying to expand and broaden public debate on U.S.-Soviet relations. That's the whole goal of the committee. And our concern with this film is that it renders very simplistically as black hats and white hats, and in a very stereotyped fashion, what is probably the most complicated problem in international affairs today. To depict the Soviets as simply the embodiment of evil and Americans as apathetic people who would be subjected to a Soviet occupation is really preposterous. And I think that the question is not whether or not the Soviets are depicted as humane, because that seems completely counter to the premise of the film. They have occupied this country. If that's a soft portrayal of the Soviet Union, I'm not sure what a harsh portrayal would be.
Well, I think you almost get the impression that they occupied the country to save us from ourselves. The KGB colonel, Andrei Denisov, who is the leading Russian character in the film, ABC has said is one who has been seduced by the promise of America and who regrets the fact that we have sunk so low. So he's really almost our rescuer, Jonathan.
But if I can respond, within the film, maybe he's urbane, he's an intelligent man. He begins to look almost human.
Protects the outlaw theater.
The Soviets are human. That's not to say they don't present real dangers and real threats and real problems in international affairs, but to render it as so simplistically is, I think, counter to trying to improve public debate and understanding about the Soviet Union.
Don't you think it would be helpful if they had shown realistically the bloodbaths that take place when the communists take over? I think the exile of masses of people to the gulags.
I think it would be helpful if the media, both in entertainment programming and in news programming, showed a balanced picture of the Soviet Union with the bloodbaths and the problems in the Soviet Union and the repression, as well as the other side.
Okay, I want to give Mr. Abrams a chance to jump in here.
I'm just delighted that any television program has provoked this debate at all. It seems to me what we see on television too often is such bland fare that we should all at least be grateful that we have a program which stimulates people to talk about these things. I mean, we survived Rambo as a people. We did it very well. I don't think the two of you should worry quite so much about the effect on the American public. I think it's terrific that we're all here talking about whether the program is to this or to that, but I guess what I would leave people with is the thought that it's about time, and I'd like to have more on television which deals or tries to deal with these hard, controversial, sophisticated issues of public policy.
So just the attempt to try to deal with it has a positive effect?
Well, I think so, and I think as this debate shows.
Yes. I would agree with that, and that's one of the reasons that the Committee for National Security and the other groups that have been working with us have been approaching both the network and the affiliate stations, asking for additional airtime to discuss the really controversial issues that are in this show.
Are you happy with the response you've gotten?
No, we think that there is a great need to have serious discussions and lengthy, extended discussions where you can really get into the issues. And there is a discussion of a one hour or 90-minute segment at the very end of the show, and we think that's not enough for a 14-and-a-half-hour miniseries. There needs to be more.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, all for being with us today.
Thank you.
And in our next half hour, TGIF with Linda Ellaby. We'll be back.
Every Ford dealer in the country has 3.9 financing and cash back, but only Chuck Fletcher Ford will match your down payment up to $1,000. You heard right. We'll match it up to $1,000. Own a new Ranger, $59.99. Drive it for $112 a month. Tempo, $69.99, just $153 a month. Even Bronco 2, $12,499, just $269 a month. But hurry, matching down only lasts till Monday. Only at Chuck Fletcher's West Suburban Ford. Don't